beauty with age, and they were your great grandmother's." The Harvester reached over and energetically shook hands. "Ruth, I'm so glad you've got them," he bubbled. "Now elucidate on my willow ware. What is it? Where is it? Why have I willow ware and am not informed? Who is responsible for this? Did my ancestors buy better than they knew? Or worse, is willow ware a crime for which I must hide my head, or is it further riches thrust upon me? I thought I had investigated the subject of proper dishes quite thoroughly, but I am very certain I saw no mention of lustre or willow. I thought in my ignorance that lustre was a dress and willow a tree. Have I been deceived? Why is a blue plate or a pitcher willow ware?" "Bring that platter from the mantel," ordered the Girl, "and I will show you." The Harvester obeyed and followed the finger that traced the design. "That's a healthy willow tree," he commented. "If Loon Lake couldn't go ahead of that, it should be drained. And will you please tell me why this precious platter, from which I have eaten much stewed chicken, fried ham, and in youthful days sopped the gravy, will you tell me why this relic of my ancestors is called a willow plate, when there are a majority of orange trees so extremely fruitful they have neglected to grow a leaf? Why is it not an orange plate? Look at that boat, and in plain sight of it 2 pagodas, a summer house, a water sweep, and a pair of corpulent swallows. You would have me believe that a couple are eloping in broad daylight." "Perhaps it's night, and those birds are doves." "Never!" cried the Harvester. "There is a total absence of shadows. There is no moon. Each orange tree is conveniently split in halves, so you can see to count the fruit accurately. The birds are in flight. Only a swallow or a stork can fly in decorations, either by day or by night. And for any sake, look at that elopement. He goes ahead carrying a cane, she comes behind lugging the baggage. Another man with a cane brings up the rear. They are not running away. They have been married 10 years at least. In a proper elopement they forget there are such things as jewels and they always carry each other. I've often looked up the statistics, and it's the only authorized version. As I regard this treasure, I grow faint when I remember with what unnecessary force my father bore down when he carved the ham. I'll bet a cookie he split those orange trees. Now me, I'll never dare touch knife to it again. I'll always carve the meat on the broiler and gently lift it to this platter with a fork. Or am I not to be allowed to dine from my ancestral treasure again?" "Not in a green and yellow room," laughed the Girl. "I'll tell you what I think. If I had a tea table to match the living room furniture, and it sat beside the hearth, and on it a chafing dish to cook in, and the willow ware to eat from, we could have little tea parties in there when we weren't very hungry, or to treat a visitor. It would help make that room homey. And it's wonderful how they harmonize with the other things." "How much willow ware have I got to bestow on you?" inquired the Harvester. "Suppose you show me all of it. A guilty feeling arises in my breast, and I fear me I have committed high crimes." "Oh Man! You didn't break or lose any of those dishes, did you?" "Show me!" insisted the Harvester. The Girl arose, and going to the cupboard he had designed for her china, she opened it, and set before him a teapot, cream pitcher, 2 plates, a bowl, a pitcher, the meat platter, and a sugar bowl. "If there were all of the cups, saucers, and plates, I know where they would bring $500, she said. "Ruth, are you getting even with me for poking fun at them, or are you in earnest?" asked the Harvester. "I mean every word of it." "You really want a small black walnut table made especially for those old dishes?" "Not if you are too busy. I could use it with beautiful effect and much pleasure, and I can't tell you how proud I'd be of them." The Harvester's face flushed. "Excuse me," he said, rising. "I have now finished furnishing a house. I will go and take a peep at the engine." He went into the kitchen, and hearing the rattle of dishes, the Girl followed. She stepped in just in time to see him hastily slide something into his pocket. He picked up a half dozen old white plates and saucers and several cups and started toward the evaporator. He heard her coming. "Look here, honey," he said, turning. "You don't want to see the dry house just now. I have terrific heat to do some rapid work. I won't be gone but a few minutes. You better boss the decorator." "I'm afraid that wasn't very diplomatic," he muttered. It savoured a little of being sent back, but if what she says is right, and she should know, if they handle such stuff at that art store, she will feel considerably better not to see this. He set his load at the door, drew an old blue saucer from his pocket, and made a careful examination. He pulled some leaves from a bush and pushed a greasy cloth out of the saucer, wiped it the best he could, and held it to light. "That is a crime," he commented. "Saucer from your maternal ancestor's tea set used for a grease dish? I am afraid I'd better sink it in the lake. She'd feel worse to see it than never to know. Wish I could clean off the grease. I could do better if it was hot. I can set it on the engine." The Harvester placed the saucer on the engine, entered the dry house, and closed the door. In the stifling air he began pouring seed from beautiful big willow plates to the old white ones. "About the time I have ruined you," he said to a white plate, "some one will pop up and discover that the art of making you is lost and you are priceless, and I'll have been guilty of another blunder. Now there are the dishes mother got with baking powder. She thought they were grand. I know plenty well she prized them more than these blue ones, or she wouldn't have saved them and used these for every day. There they sit, all so carefully taken care of, and the Girl doesn't even look at them. Thank Heaven, there are the 4 remaining plates all right, anyway. Now I've got seed in some of the saucers. One is there. Where on earth is the last one? And where, oh unkind fates, are the cups?" He found more saucers and set them with the plates. As he passed the engine he noticed the saucer on it was bubbling grease, literally exuding it from the particles of clay. "Hooray!" cried the Harvester. He took it up, but it was so hot he dropped it. With a deft sweep he caught it in air and shoved it on a tray. Then he danced and blew on his burned hand. Snatching out his handkerchief, he rubbed off all the grease, and imagined the saucer was brighter. "If a little is good, more is better," quoted the Harvester. Wadding the handkerchief, he returned the saucer to the engine. Then he slipped out, dripping perspiration, glanced toward the cabin, and ran into the workroom. The first object he saw was a willow cup, half full of red paint, stuck and dried as if to remain forever. He took his knife and tried to whittle it off, but noticing that he was scratching the cup, he filled it with turpentine, set it under a workbench, turned a tin pan over it, and covered it with shavings. A few steps farther brought one in sight filled with carpet tacks. He searched everywhere but could find no more, so he went to the laboratory. Beside his wash bowl at the door stood the last willow saucer. He had used it for years as a soap dish. He scraped the contents on the bench and filled the dish with water. 4 cups held medicinal seeds and were in good condition. He lacked one, although he could not remember of ever having broken it. Gathering his collection, he returned to the dry house to see how the saucer was coming on. Again it was bubbling, and he polished off the grease and set back the dish. It certainly was growing better. He carried his treasures into the workroom and went to the barn to feed. As he was leaving the stable he uttered a joyous exclamation and snatched from a window sill a willow cup, gummed and smeared with harness oil. "The full set, by hokey!" marveled the Harvester. "Say, Betsy, the only name for this is luck. Now if I only can clean them, I'll be ready to make her tea table, whatever that is. My, I hope she will stay away until I get these in better shape." He filled the last cup with turpentine, set it with the others under the workbench, stacked the remaining pieces, polished the saucer he was baking, and went to bring a dish pan and towel. He drew some water from the pipes of the evaporator, put in the soap, and carried it to the workroom. There he carefully washed and wiped all the pieces, save 2 cups and 1 saucer. He did not know how long it would require to bake the grease